Yeah, let's do it. Hello, friends. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, hopefully we're getting some good responses here.
Yes.
Awesome, they can hear us. All right, holy cow. First of all, happy Easter weekend to all of you. I hope you guys are having a great time with your families. I hope everyone's safe and healthy. And thank you again for the opportunity to build another airplane with you. This is our second build, and we learned a lot from the first build. We had over 1,000 people from the last build, and I'm sure many of them are the same people that are tuned in today. And the feedback you guys gave us was incredible. We were able to kind of adjust for that. Hopefully the audio is better. Hopefully there'll be a little bit better imagery on what we're building together. And at any point, if you guys have any questions or need me to stop or go over something, this is about us fellowshipping together. I want you to have an amazing experience, and I want you to be able to complete this project here. Today we're going to be building a easy glider, and if you guys don't know what an easy glider is, it's this guy right here. Here, I'll put it this camera here. This is basically a miniature version of a tiny trainer, and what we've done is we've simplified it for our FT STEM program. And you're going to see as we build this here, this is specifically designed to teach people the effects of different control surfaces and how when you change the shapes, how you get different behaviors. You're going to see a common theme that I love to see what happens when people switch around configurations and makes planes fly. So hopefully you're going to build one of these, but also if you guys have time, check out our FT STEM program. This is going to actually have a program coupled with it that you guys can take it to the next level and not only have fun with it, but also make it very educational. If you guys haven't already, there's a page download for this. It's just one sheet of foam and a very simple one sheet, I think 6-piece kit. So, if you haven't already cut it out, don't worry. We do have a build video you can follow along. And what do you guys say we get started? Any questions before we get started? Everyone good?
Everyone's just excited for you to get started.
Okay, cool. Well, first of all, if you hear a voice behind the scenes here, that's my awesome wife. Jennifer is answering comments right now, and then my son Noah, he's working the camera and making sure everything's working. So even if you have a question for them, I'm sure we can get them in the mix. All right, let's first start by popping out all of our pieces here. If you guys haven't done so already, go ahead and either grab your kits, or if you're cutting it out, get all your pieces in order, and we're going to go ahead and start with our wings. Any questions? Everyone's good?
Everyone's just, they love it. They can't wait.
I love you guys.
Started.
This is cool.
They love these.
All right, so while people are popping it out, let's go ahead and just do a little component identification. Your main wing is going to look just like this piece right here. So this is your main wing. You're going to have 2 dihedral gauges, which is going to look like this right here. And pretty much that's it for the wing. So we can take all of our other pieces here, our nose doublers and our tail surfaces, we'll just put those to the side. And the first thing that I would like you folks to do here is to clear out the channel that you see right here by the trailing edge here. This channel is going to be what we call a C-fold, and we need to clear that out. You can do it 2 different ways. You can use a razor blade, or you can even use something like an old prop to be able to drag through where the red line is. If you guys are planes building, a black line is cut through, a red line is score cut, and a blue line is an indicator or a crease line. So go ahead and let's go ahead and follow along these 2 pieces here, making sure we don't cut through the bottom piece of paper.
We do have our first question.
Yeah, what's our first question?
How do you determine the size electric motor to put on a plane? Do you go by weight of the plane versus thrust?
That's a really good question, and I'm probably going to butcher this. I believe if you're flying like a motor glider, it's like 25 watts per pound. If you're going for a pattern ship, it's about 100 watts per pound. And then if you're going for something 3D, it's like 150 to 200 watts per pound is kind of a good rule of thumb. And I may be wrong about the 25 watts per pound. It may be 50 watts per pound. But generally, I kind of do a comparative where I look at someone else's design, and if it's like, okay, that's about a 50-inch wingspan, and they have a motor that swings a 10-inch prop with a 1200 kV, I just look at the weight and kind of match it. But if you're designing your own model and you want a motor glider or a trainer experience, 25 to 50 watts per pound is a really good place to start. Good question.
And does this plane you're building today have electronics?
So this plane here can actually be a free flight airplane, but there are a couple indicator marks that you can drop servos in and make it a glider. One really cool thing is we're actually going to be reimagining this and coming out with a version 2 of this exact aircraft, but it's not going to be called the Easy Glider. It's actually going to be called the Wonder Glider, And as we get building here, I'm going to share a little bit of difference, but the new Wonder Glider is going to be made out of white maker foam, and we're also going to play around with the dimensions to make it easily convertible over to RC, so it can only be a person's first chuck glider, but can also be a person's first motor glider. The only difference is it won't have the benefits of the Tiny Trainer, where you can go from a 2-channel all the way up through a 4-channel. It's just going to be basically either 2-channel or 3-channel, but it'll be even more tuned for STEM than before, and we'll talk more about that. Yeah, great question. All right, so what we're going to do here, now that we've creased these 2 lines, we're going to go ahead and fold this over 180 degrees. And we're going to go ahead and remove the center section just like this.
Do you have suggestions for a plane that might fly good in the wind?
Oh boy, you know what? I really like the Sportster. Does really well in the wind, and generally airplanes that are more symmetrical airfoil do really well in the wind too. So the Sportster is really good. I love the Sea Duck in the wind. That's a fantastic one. Let me think of what else. Yeah, the Sportster. I love the Sportster in the wind. Yeah, I have to think about that. Sportster and Sea Duck would probably be my 2 go-tos. All right. Now that we have the center channel all cut out, let's go ahead and put our attention towards where the leading edge is going to be. Now, if you go to the next crease line from where we made our channel towards us, as long as we have the channel pointing away from us, that's going to be our leading edge. We want to take this to the edge of the table and crack this open. We're going to want to make a fold line here, and we can do this 2 ways here. We can either crush it down with a magic marker, especially if you're working with little kids and you don't want them to use razor blades. We can take that magic marker and just go ahead and push down really hard and give ourselves about a 45-degree bevel, just like that. If you're okay with using a razor blade, we can also do a 45-degree bevel cut. And the way that we're going to be doing that is we're going to go ahead and keep our razor blade about a 45-degree angle. We're not going to want to go 90s, and keeping it just above the paper, we're going to go ahead and cut our 45-degree angle. You don't want your razor blade to be 90 degrees or it's going to wander real easily. What you want to see is you want to see it at about a 45 to 60-degree angle, and it's going to guide through really easily.
What would be better for turning? Would it be rudder or ailerons?
Rudder. Rudder on an easy glider is going to be the best for turning because we have something called polyhedral, and the polyhedral is going to help you with your coordinated turns. You could definitely put ailerons on here, but you're going to be adding a lot of extra weight, where for a plane like this, the rudder is going to be great. Now with other designs, you're going to definitely want to look at ailerons. Ailerons, oftentimes we refer to the term bank and yank. When you get to a faster airplane or a more established airplane, ailerons will give you a lot more control, and sometimes you don't need rudder at all. Great question.
I have kind of a technical question here from someone.
Okay.
They just tried to bind their Spectrum DXE to the Aurora 5 Lite, and they're having issues. Any ideas?
Okay, so the Spectrum DXE, that does work perfectly with the Aura. What you're going to need to do is make sure you're working off a satellite receiver. If you're not using a satellite receiver, it's not going to work. You need a serial receiver, which is what you oftentimes see in multi-rotors. So if you follow along with the Beaver episode where we showed the hookup, as long as your receiver looks like that, you should be just fine. Now, a couple things. The DXE does have a throttle cut on your right corner. So if you're saying, I'm not getting any throttle, there's a very good likelihood that your throttle cut, which is hardwired into your transmitter, is in flicked. I actually made sure we specifically tested it on the DXE, and it works fantastic. The 3-mode switch is going to go ahead and give you your different 3 modes. So no gyros, gyro low gains, or auto or level assist if you have that activated, and then the other one will be high gains, high rates. And it should work just fine for you. So hope that helps. Great question. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do here, now that we have our 45-degree bevel and we also have our main spar area here, is we're going to go ahead and fold this wing over just to make sure that we have enough crush down on it. We don't want to try to do this at the last moment and have lots of pressure here. So go ahead with the flats of your hands and kind of let that wing curl around here. Don't try to do it in one full motion, but just go ahead and take your time and let it crease over. Once you've gotten to this where it almost goes 180 degrees, we're going to open this up and we're going to grab a barbecue skewer. That barbecue skewer, we're just going to take the very tip of that barbecue skewer and we're going to lightly drag this around where our wing needs to mold. Just like this.
How much is this plane going to weigh when we're finished?
Oh my golly, this will probably be maybe 100 grams, 110 grams maybe. Very, very light. I actually truthfully have never weighed it. I'm just kind of taking a guess right now. As a free flight, it's going to be incredibly light. As a model airplane with radio controls, it's still going to be well under 250 grams. All right, now that we've kind of creased in here, and again, we're not pushing all the way down to the paper on the other side. We're just kind of giving a light indent, telling the paper where we want it to fold. We're going to use our thumbs and our fingers here to kind of roll up the edges here. So when we fold this over, we're going to see the shape of the wing naturally taking place. Once you see that happening and it creases over nice and easy, we now have the wing ready to be shaped and ready to be glued together. Once you've gotten to this step, let's go ahead and glue down our spar. To glue down our spar, we're simply going to put a bead of glue on the trailing edge, and then we're going to fold it over 180 degrees. I was a little concerned about the audio. Is the audio okay for everybody now?
They're wondering if you have any new drone plans coming up soon.
Drone plans? Yeah. We actually, Maddie would be a better person to talk about this, but there is something that's near and dear to my heart. There is a Versacopter V2 that's going to be coming out in the future. We call it the Versacopter Slim. Once again, it's focusing a lot more around STEM with the ability to reconfigure it. But this time, instead of having a PCB board that's pretty fat, Andres Liu, who did most of the designing on this, actually went to the Quad World. And you guys have probably seen it hanging around in the background and even some teaser videos on it in some of our videos. I love it because it's nice long flight times. We're getting almost 10-minute flight times off of a 2254 cell using our F-Packs. And the really cool thing is although it has lots of performance, it may not be a race winner, you can cruise with this thing, have plenty of power for chasing airplanes, and there's no props in your video. Just like the original Versacopter 2, you can change the configuration. But to be truthful, I just love the original H-Pack. A couple big differences is instead of the camera kind of being an afterthought, Andres did an amazing job making a whole guarded cage that you can adjust your camera angle and also holds a GoPro. I'll be sure to kind of like bring some of that in and show you guys in the future, but look in the background, you'll see it laying around. The other really cool thing about this too is it can take the DJI HD unit right inside the two carbon fiber pieces and protect it, so you'd have an HD 10-minute plus flying quad if you put anything over a 2250 on it.
Mike's Camera in Lego says that he got like 15 of these and had kids at his local library build them, and they loved it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, that's my heart, man, is seeing kids build this. If they can go in under an hour and go from nothing to flying something and realize that they have the amazing minds to do so, that changes how they think in life. And thank you for doing that with the kids, and also for sharing your experience. That's great. All right, let's go ahead. Now we have our main spar here folded over 180 degrees. We call that a C-fold. So if you've never done this before, a C-fold is where it folds over 180 degrees. We're going to have a B-fold later on in this. I'll be able to take you through. Let's go ahead and do one last practice fold here, and that looks really good. Our wing is taking shape. Our next step here is we're going to want to go ahead and tell the wing that we want it to stay in that way, stay in that airfoil shape, even when we bend it over. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and just put a very thin ribbon of glue right down in that crease all the way across.
Would this be a better burst glider or the simple soarer?
I would, as far as for RC, I think the simple soarer is still pretty fantastic because it glides a lot farther. This would be a really good glider if you just want to be able to toss it in your backyard, or if you want to toss it off a hill and glide it down. The simple soarer would go so far with a launch. But they both are probably about the same difficulty. The simple soarer just has bigger pieces. So yeah, really good question. So you're probably noticing here that as soon as I put that glue down, I went ahead and folded it over, and I'm just kind of bouncing it up, holding that airfoil shape. After about 30 seconds of doing this, you're going to notice that when I open it up, that the airfoil is holding its shape real nice for you, just like that. That's what we want to see.
The Power Pack B, which Power Pack B plane would be the best for beginners?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. Simple Cub or Simple Scout? Both are really good. The Simple Cub is our most popular by far. That's what we did our first build experience with. The Simple Scout is personally my favorite. They both fly almost identical. The reason I like the Simple Scout is because where the landing gear is placed, it almost never rolls over or tips over. And landing and taking off that plane is a great joy, even in the grass or in a hard surface. So if you like something that looks more like World War I, go with the Simple Scout. If you like a classic looking model, go with the Simple Cub. You won't be sorry with either, and both of those can also go up to a 4-cell with the radial B-Pack, which means you can go from a trainer to an aerobatic high-powered airplane just by changing out your batteries. Really good question.
They're asking what kind of hot glue are you using?
So right now, any hot glue, first of all, will work on our foam board. On our store, we have a special FT blend of hot glue. It's our FT hot glue, and you're going to notice that it's a lot more opaque. Do you see how white that is in the camera there? Typically, a long time ago, we used to say solid colors, stay away because that's a sign of moisture. That was specifically towards a bad batch of AdTech glue that we had. After we told a lot of people that, glue companies started reaching out to us and saying, hey, call off the troops. Everyone's calling in and telling us that our glue is no good. And truthfully, it wasn't. There was a huge batch of bad glue, and I called it out. But that helped us establish a relationship with Heigl Adhesives, where they're like, hey, help us, or let us help you make your own blended glue. And unfortunately, you can't hear this probably too well, but this is almost plasticky. It's not rubbery. And the reason it's solid, it has a lot more binders and glues in it. So it's more rigid. It's not as rubbery, but it works really good on our foam board. And if you're in, like, say, Arizona or Florida or a hotter climate, one of the feedbacks we got a lot was, hey, I'd put my plane in the car and I'd come back and it was unglued. This holds to a much higher temperature. It's not saying it'll never release if you get it super hot, but it works really good. So check out our store. Just type in hot glue on our store. You'll see our hefty hot glue. It's the exact same price as the Walmart hot glue. The only thing you're going to have to do is pay shipping, or maybe it'll make it a couple bucks more expensive, but really, really good experience. You can make a little glue go a long way just because it's so much stronger. Yeah, good question.
And along the same lines, someone is asking if we're still able to ship from the online store at this time.
We are. Fortunately, AMain does our distribution and stuff, and where our warehouses are located, they've been able to still stay operational. Along with that, we have a FT STEM store that you guys can check out, and we're able to still keep that running as well. So yeah, we're still open. It's a little bit slower than normal, but things are still moving. So thank you for your support. All right, you ready for the final glue on the wing here? Now that we have our airfoil done here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a bead of glue on the leading edge, right down in that crack. And then we're also going to do a bead of glue on the top of the main spar right here.
Is this glider available in the FT store?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's available both in the FT store and also on our STEM store. The only difference is we sell them in 5-packs. So you can get 5 gliders. I think it's like 34 bucks. And everything you need to do it, from your nose weights to your rubber bands to your barbecue skewers. All right, we're going to hold this down for about a minute here and let it get a nice thoroughly cool. I always say dry, but it's supposed to be cool. We're going to let the glue cool here and give it a good minute or so. Everything's under pressure right now, and so you're going to want to make sure that you don't release this too prematurely, or else it's going to open up on you. I can answer your question though.
Let's see.
Is the audio and everything working okay?
Yeah, audio's
Oh,
doing
good.
well. Someone's asking, can you add retractable landing gear?
To this?
I'm not sure. It just that's all it says.
I would say to this, anything's possible, but no, I don't think retractable landing gear on this one would probably be a good idea. But you people have on our forums, a lot of the Warbirds, a lot of John Overstreet's Master Series, they've been able to add retractable landing gear. And if you just type in retractable landing gear Master Series or retractable landing gear swappable, you're going to see a lot of those pop up there, and there's some really good articles and forum posts on what people used. Also, we have some prototypes of some retractable landing gears that we're testing out right now, specifically on John Overstreet's Warbirds. And as we get those figured out, we're going to be sharing them with you, and you guys will be able to use that too.
I have another quick question.
Yeah.
You mentioned the best beginner plane for PowerPack B, but what about A and C?
Oh, that's fantastic. So PowerPack A, I would strongly recommend the Tiny Trainer or the Mini Scout. If you look at yesterday's release episode, right here at this table, I built a little tiny Mini Scout. That plane is as simple as it can be. Again, it's a 1-sheet foam kit, and it's real easy to scratch build or buy the kit and build along with it. It takes maybe about 2 hours at the very most if you're following along with the video. And then the Tiny Trainer also runs off of an 8-pack, And that's fantastic as well, because you can start off with a chuck lighter, you can then go to a 2-channel airplane, then you can go to a 3-channel airplane where the whole nose will interchange from a smooth nose to a nose with a prop in the front of it. And then you can also then later swap out the wing, which is included in the kit, and go from a 3-channel to a 4-channel. And at that point, it is fully aerobatic. You can do inverted flight, you can do knife edges, you can do all the things a warm liner would do, except it's much slower. So yeah, I would say either a tiny trainer if you want like a grow with me experience, or if you want an awesome little durable airplane, the Mini Scout is just fantastic. And then a Power Pack C, I would probably say for a trainer, I would say the Storch. The Storch has a landing gear that's truthfully a little hard to bend, so if you take your time and you bend that landing gear, it's a fantastic trainer. And on a C-Pack 3-channel, it'll just be almost like a Telemaster. The other one I'd recommend if you want a C-Pack trainer would be the Legacy. The Legacy is a little bit more money, but you have a really nice metal landing gear that comes with it. You can build it as a 3-channel, 4-channel, or twin engine. And that plane is modeled after the Telemaster, which was once known as one of the best trainers in the world. All right, I think we're about our 1 minute in here, and you can see our wing has a really nice airfoil to it, and that's exactly what we want. Now, if we put this on an airplane right now, what would happen is it wouldn't fly very stable. We need something called polyhedral. Polyhedral is going to help it self-level, and to get that, we're going to be putting our attention towards these 2 cracks right here. So let's go ahead and first start by taking our razor blade, and we're going to kind of lightly cut and open up the seam on the lower end here, allowing this to basically bend up a little bit. So you can kind of see here, we want this to freely be able to move up and down just like that. So make sure that you have that opened up. We're going to do that on both sides. There's already a relief cut on the kit for this, but sometimes it helps if you just open it up just in case some glue got squeezed in that area.
Do you prefer rebuilding or repairing planes you've crashed?
Oh my gosh. So Alex gives me a hard time about this, and he's right to do so. Whenever I'm designing an airplane, if I crash it, I want to go ahead and go on to the next rendition a lot. So oftentimes I'll be like, oh, I crashed it, the wing is down, I'm just going to build a new wing, or I'm going to build a new airplane. A lot of that's to put changes that I put in there. So I would say I like building as much as I do flying, so typically what I'll do is I'll just build another airplane, especially since it's so cheap to do so. That being said, these are really easy to repair, and once we're out in the field or we're flying or doing an episode, repairing them is really quick and simple. Now my friend Alex, he may even be on here right now. He is awesome with just keeping these things going forever, and he will take them to the point where they are like limp noodles, and he'll still keep them flying. So it's really a matter of taste, but typically I'll always go and I'll build another one. You'll probably also notice that my planes are never painted because I'm never patient enough to get it to that point, and I also know I'm going to do something sketchy and destroy it pretty quickly. So yeah, typically they're not painted, and I like building.
I have a question I can answer here real quick.
Yeah.
Justin Gafford wants his hobby shop would like to become a distributor, but doesn't want to go through AMAIN.
Yeah.
So Justin, if you just go to flitetestdirect.com, you can get it straight from us.
Perfect. And he's a hobby shop, you said?
Yes.
That makes my day. Something I can share, especially if there's any other hobby shop owners out here, a little bit on our hearts with where we want to see things go. Flite Test right now is predominantly online web store, but we are going to hobby shops like crazy, and our heart is to help kind of re-energize hobby shops. Plus, with all of our community around, we don't want the hobby shops just to be a place where people go in and buy something and leave. We want to start working with hobby shops to help create basically make spaces or educational spaces where community members can come in for a build night. Something like what we're doing right now could just as easily be done where on a Friday night we're all pulling out an arrow and we're doing a simul build and live build, but instead of people building in their living rooms, there's 10 people around a table at your hobby shop with pizza, and everyone's connecting as friends, but also supporting your hobby shop too. So that's something that we're going to be talking a lot more about. We're already bringing a lot of product into hobby shops, and you guys have been amazing for helping us, but we also want to provide the margins you need to be able to keep the doors open. With Flite Test, we definitely know that if the hobby shops close, it's not going to be a good thing for the hobby or for America for that matter. So especially after this quarantine is lifted and stuff, look for a lot of information to be released on how we want to go into hobby shops and really help them get back on their feet and hopefully thrive.
Brad would like to know why you always use a razor blade and not a hobby knife.
That's a really good question. I used to do a lot of auto body. So with auto body, we'd get these 100 packs of razor blades, and oftentimes what would happen is we would just grab a new one when we were scraping, scraping things off. It's just a force of habit for me to grab a single razor blade, and I do recognize it's probably not the safest practice. So I apologize if I'm being a bad example, but this is just kind of from my automotive days at a body shop. I like to work with a tiny razor blade. Okay, let's go ahead and get this dihedral done. Now that we have this relief cut where we can easily lift this, we're going to have two dihedral gauges that are going to look like this. What we'll want to do is we'll want to lift one under each side, and we're going to want to make sure that there's not too much tension on the wing here. If there is, what you need to do is you need to open this up even more. So make sure that it's nice and easy, and an easy way to do that, you can even drag your barbecue skewer down there, but just make sure that it opens up nice and easy. Once you're happy with that, we're going to go ahead and press a bead of glue right there. Keep your tape handy by yourself so you can push some glue down in there. All right, we're going to go ahead and squeegee that glue up. And I got one of these really heavy tape dispensers. A really easy way to do this is to simply leave the tape dispenser right on top of this and give this about 2 minutes to dry. Once the one side's done, we're going to do the other side.
What would be a good FPV setup for the Simple Cup?
FPV setup, if you're going to be flying close around, a simple FXT 805, which is an all-in-one little tiny micro camera, is fantastic. We even have a little relief cutout on the canopy where you can pop that through on the other side. If you're not using an FXT 805, you could use like a simple 2500 to 200 milliwatt FPV setup and a simple run cam.
Your favorite master
Am I rubbing this?
You keep when you look down.
Am I rubbing it with my face?
A little bit.
All right, I'll put it on my... Here, I'll do this. I'm new to this kind of stuff. How's that?
Good.
Was it going like that? Thank you guys. Sorry about that.
What is your favorite master series, and which is the easiest to build?
Oh, great
of the
question.
master series.
So, man, my favorite master series moves with every new one that John designs, and you guys know me, you know that's the truth. One plane I love going back to over and over again because its size, presence, and speed. I love the Jug. The Jug can be built as a D model or as a Razorback, and the size and the presence and also how big and round and open it is really, really easy to build. So if you're looking for your first master series, the Jug, it looks like $1 million. It's a big airplane. It flies really gently, and you don't have to worry about any scoops on the bottom. Now with that said, the Spitfire that just came out and also the BF-109 that's coming out very, very soon, both of those planes in the air are an absolute dream. If you watch the tank episode that recently came out, you'll see me flying the BF-109 back and forth, and that plane is so locked in. All the Master Series basically have great flight characteristics. They're not beginner because it doesn't have undercambered wingtips, so if you do stall it, you can't expect the torque of the engine or the stall to kind of break one side or the other. But the characteristics as far as the way it flies, handles, hand launches is incredible. If you're going to pick a first build and you want something real easy to kind of open up and that's just really easy and big to work with, check out the, I would say the P-47.
Can you use a 945 prop on an FT Explorer?
Yeah, you can use a 945 prop on it. Absolutely.
Would a Mighty Mini Arrow be a good beginner plane?
The Mighty Mini Arrow, if you did it on a Power Pack A, would probably be okay. One thing with the Arrows is there's no self-righting tendency, but if you put it on an A pack with a 3-cell, it's going to be very, very gentle and slow and very durable. I would say if you're gonna make that your first plane, you could learn off a wing. Lots of people do so. Just do it on an A and not an F pack, and it'll be just fine. Just be prepared. You know you're gonna hit the ground a couple times. Beef up the nose, and just take it slow.
Do you prefer the Mini Scout or the normal Scout?
For backyard quick flying, I love the Mini Scout just because it's so tiny, and especially if you're flying indoors. For general just versatility and the fact that I can put floats on it and the ailerons, if I was going to build one right now, I'd build the bigger Scout. So once this glue is dried, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a piece of tape right over that seam. You can use either the 2-inch packing tape or you can use the 3/4 inch Scotch tape. All right, that's one wingtip down. Let's go ahead and do the other side real quick.
The mini freighter.
Yeah.
On the store, it says pre-order it. Do you know when it will actually be shipping?
Oh, maybe that's the STEM store that they're talking about pre-ordering. We have a STEM packet at the STEM store that we're going to be doing that's really unique to it. On the main site, flitetest.com or store.flitetest.com, they should still be in stock. So check that out. And if you guys are new to the whole concept of the freighter, this is about the size of an Ultra Micro. But this is if you've never flown before in your life or you have a little kid. Stefan's child, I want to say, what is he? Is he almost 4 now, Jen?
I think he's younger.
Like 3.5 maybe. He actually was able to fly this with success, and we'll be sharing that story. But for someone that's never touched the controls before, this is just a really great, throw it in the air on a calm day kind of airplane. Just make sure that when you do fly it, if you're in a smaller area, fly it in high rates, and also make sure you're flying it on a calm day for the first time. It's incredibly capable, and I'm finding myself just going out there and burning pack after pack after pack. But it should be in stock on our main store right now. They've been really popular. And also look for what we do with these electronics. We didn't just go out to try to find something to put our brand out. This has actually been out for well over a year. We were just so in love with the durability and the way it flew. We had to bring it in and have like a great out-of-the-box experience for someone where within 15 minutes they could just have a plane that just flies fantastic. But over here, this is going to be what our very first, we're going to call it the Easy 3-pack here. And this is what it's going to be. So we're going to have our Easy V, which is a V-tail. We're going to have our Easy Canard, which is a canard configuration. And then we're going to have right here our Easy Plank, which is a plank just like the Goblin, which will help you out a lot. So the goal is to have all 3 of these bundled together in a DIY package, and then we'll also have the electronics, which will come in a box like this, which will be your transmitter, your motor, your battery, your charger, everything you need. And then you can also have a really good experience building your first DIY airplanes. Our goal with these 3 airplanes is to teach you how different configurations will fly, the benefits and drawbacks from each. And then in that kit, we actually include extra materials to give you the ability to design and build your own. So again, this is all FT STEM based. This will be on our FT STEM store. And Jake and Trevor are doing a fantastic job on writing a curriculum. So you'll not only learn how to build and fly, but then you'll be able to take what you learned and then learn how to design and create your own creation. And along with that, we're going to have other 3-packs with different themes coming out. But this will be our launching 3-pack. And then we're going to have some really cool bundles on our store, on the FT STEM store specifically, that will be almost like either a school pack or more specifically a family pack where the whole family can get together and actually fly more than one. It'll be the C-17 plus the 3-pack plus a couple other goodies to have a really cool family-centered experience or an educational experience. So great question. Let me know, guys, if I ramble on too much. Let me know if I kind of go crazy too much on talking about these things. You can just really excited.
Could you get a full FPV kit for under $100?
A full FPV kit for under $100. I don't know what goggles are out there right now. I do know that Emax is easy. It's an easy quadcopter kit. It actually has like a tiny whoop-sized quadcopter, a transmitter, and goggle set, and I think that's like 109. But the quadcopter is definitely focused similar to like what the C-17 is. It's like a first experience out of the box for maybe a young child or someone that wants to have fun around their home. That said, I'm really impressed with the quality of the camera on it, but I don't know if that would be, I'm yet to see like a $100 kit that would get you really good goggles, a good camera, and everything you need to fly.
Do you think Flight Fest West will ever happen again?
Someday, yes. It won't be happening this year. Flight Fest West will, we do want to be able to hop around, but right now what we really need to do is we need to get Flight Fest East solid, and I think before we go somewhere else in the country, we should really get across the pond and do one in Germany or Europe. We've been promising that for a long time, so hopefully someday we'll be able to hop around again, and I'm confident it'll happen.
Real quick, one more before you get going.
Yeah.
How much weight can a simple cub carry?
How much weight can a simple cub carry? It sounds like a riddle. I would say, doesn't it sound like a riddle?
It does.
A simple cub, man. Well, we include like a fun little foam bomb drop kit on it, and that's not heavy, but I don't know. Maybe a tennis ball. I guess a rubber ducky. That would probably be a good example. That sounds like a challenge we should be doing in the episodes. How much weight can a simple plane carry? Yeah, probably a tennis ball would probably be about a good comparable weight. So what would that be? 4 or 5 ounces? Easily? All right, if you guys haven't done so already, go ahead and do the exact same process he just did on the other wing. And again, notice that you can either use your hands and hold this down. I'm just using my tape dispenser here as weight, and let that gauge kind of hold your wingtip up. Give it a good 2 minutes to dry, so so it doesn't open up again on you.
Can I use a 9-gram servo on a Mini Scout?
You can, and it's been done. I've done that. You're going to have a lot less space. Do we have the Mini Scout down here, Noah? Oh yeah, it's right over there. Could you grab that for me, kiddo? Right there. Just to your left.
Oh, there it is.
Great timing on the question.
The one that wasn't in the water?
The one that wasn't in the water. So, by the way, we built the second one. If you look in the camera right here, that camera. Okay, see my son's. Can we go in this one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. My son's behind the scenes helping me with figuring out cameras here. So if you look at the camera here, you'll see that the two servos are kind of staggered. If you're going to do a 9-gram, you're going to need to stagger those a lot more, and also possibly make it so the control horn is on the front side and then the control horn's on the back side. Once you do that, you can absolutely put 2 9-gram servos in. Just make sure you don't get them too far forward or too far backward. They still need to stay around that center of gravity, or it's going to be very difficult to make it fly right.
Are you ready for another one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
how do I bind an AR620 Spectrum receiver to a DX6?
AR620 receiver.
Spectrum receiver, yeah, to a DX6.
Okay, so I'm trying to think what the 620 receiver looks like. As long as they're both DSMX, if that's the push button one, what you need to do, is that the push button one? I feel bad. Okay, I'm just going to tell you both ways because I can't picture which one's the push button one. If it's the push button one, first you do is you hold down the push button while you're powering on your battery. That's going to cause the flashing light inside the receiver to start blinking. Once you have that, you're going to go ahead and take your transmitter and you're going to hold down the bind button, get at least 4 to 5 feet away, and hold the radio as far away as you can, and then power it up while pushing down on the bind button. Once you've done that, it should link together for you. One common thing that people do with Spectrum receivers is they keep their transmitter right next to the receiver, and that causes a lot of issues where it's just too close for them to be able to properly link. So if you're having difficulty saying I must be doing something wrong, that's most likely going to be the reason why it's happening. Now, if you have the one with the bind plug, it's the exact same process. The only difference is you're going to have the bind plug in, power it on, and then you go ahead and take your transmitter, which should be off, go at least 5-6 feet away, turn it on, holding it far away from that, and let it bind. It's going to take, probably about maybe 10 seconds. You'll kind of hear it going beep, 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 and then you'll hear like to make this chirp, and then kind of do a reboot setup, a reboot power on, and then you'll see your controls work. Anytime you're doing this, just make sure your prop's off because, it shouldn't initialize the ESC if you're doing all this, but it's just a good safe practice for you. I can't remember what the 620 looks like. I feel so bad.
For your first airplane, is bigger better?
For your first airplane, mid-size is better. If you have the open space like a baseball field or something to fly in, start with something like I'd say the biggest, like a tiny trainer would be a really good start. Mighty Mini Scout would be a good start. But if you can go to something like a Simple Cub or a Simple Scout, those are just phenomenal trainers. They're big enough to handle wind, but they're also small enough to be able to fly in a compact area. So once you go there, once you start with that mid-size range, 40 inches or so, minis typically don't handle wind as well. They don't handle bad environments as well. So you'll oftentimes have more difficulty flying a small airplane because it's just very rare that you always get that dead calm evening and the bigger airplanes will fly it. If you do have something like a Mini Scout or a Simple Cub, consider dropping the Aura board in there because you're going to get the level assist, you're going to get the launch assist, all those different features, and it's really easy to hook up and right out of the box with no computer tuning. You just follow my build instruction and it'll work great for you. Hey Noah, is the audio better now? Am I not rubbing it with my chin? Okay, cool. Before I forget, let's go ahead and put the tape on here. I love the questions, guys. Thank you. Really good questions. And then we're just going to fold this around. And at this point, our wing is now done here. So a lot of you guys, since this is kind of like a first beginner's plane to build, polyhedral basically works like this. When the wing tips down, this wing here is going to generate more lift than the raised wing, and it's going to help it level out here. So that's a really important thing with these gliders is to have equal polyhedral on both sides. So as it glides, it'll kind of self-level. Now we didn't put so much in there that it wouldn't turn for you, so you still have some technique, and especially if you make it RC, you're going to be able to turn around nice and coordinated. But feel free, if you're building another one of these and you're designing along with our STEM program where they're having you design your own wing, experiment with dihedral and polyhedral a little bit to see what the effects are, because you're going to notice that there's drawbacks and benefits when you increase or decrease your polyhedral. All right, our wing's done. Let's go ahead and put this aside and we'll start on our fuselage. We want to hit another question or two, love?
Sure. Does the 405 Lite have an O-crap switch?
You can mix up with the O-crap switch. Basically, the center mode here, if you're doing just the out-of-the-box setup here, the center mode is basically you can dial and mix in your push button on a Spectrum radio to mix into that. So it would be the center position on the gear switch. And all you do is you just do a momentary mix. So when you push that down, it automatically goes to the second position, and it'll be, frankly, your O-crap switch. Oftentimes when I'm teaching people to fly, they seldom ever need to get there, especially if it's off a simple Cub or a simple Scout. I set them up with level assist, which automatically brings you back. You will notice it's not exactly like safe. It's a little bit softer than safe. We wanted it to feel as if you're still in control of the airplane, and as if you had just a really amazingly stable 3-channel airplane. That said, it reacts much quicker, but it's just a very soft, gentle. It's not like you're pushing against a rubber band and it's snapping back. It's just a very soft return to horizontal. And I put it inverted on, like, say, high rates, high gain, and I put it inverted, and I switch that center mode, and it just snaps around immediately. So it works really well. Look for a video on the Aura site, flitetest.com/FTAura5, I believe is what the site is. We have a whole library of videos that we're making and we're still making. That's definitely going to be one of them here. I think right now we have about 4 videos up. Soon there'll be a whole video library with all the different features that you can follow along. Also, our tech channel is going to have all those different videos stored there too. So look for more of that to come. It's a really easy mix to do, and I'll show you how to do it.
Someone says that they would love to see some sort of a list or a video of all the FT planes and categorized by difficulty and skill level.
Nice.
Kind of feels overwhelmed visiting the store. We have so many right now.
You're absolutely right. You know, when we started with the 3-channel or the 3-pack a long time ago, I didn't really picture what it would look like, 6-7 years into the future, especially with all the amazing designs coming from our community. Look for that to actually be done in a really cool infographic here in the near future. We're working on that specifically also for our hobby shop friends, because for people coming in that maybe don't know much about flight tests or don't know much about the hobby, we want them to identify what they're passionate about and then be able to get on what we call the runway to be able to start at a learning point and then growing from there. If you guys don't know, all of our designs basically will teach you something new, whether it's aeronautics or whether it's build technique or whether it's all the above. So you can go from a beginner plane to a beginner plane that's more complicated to build, to a little bit more complicated of an airplane that's a little bit harder to build or more rewarding or more aerobatic, to an easy plane but is very, very capable aerobatically. So we have unique visions behind each airplane, and as we've gotten, I think, over 60 now, we got to start kind of giving people a very easy way to do it. So look for that to come in the near future. And as always, a really great place is to check with our community. Go on the forums, go on social media. Hey, I'm looking for a plane that gives me this experience. You're going to have a lot of really good people guiding to the plane that they like. And if you guys have any questions, like what would you recommend, Josh, for this experience, just shoot them in the questions and I'll do my best to answer them.
And I did slow them down, so I'm reading them slightly delayed from what they're coming in. So
Oh, okay.
if people think I haven't answered them yet, I'm still back a little
Still
ways.
backlogged a little bit.
Yep, so we're getting there.
Well, why don't we go ahead and start with our fuselage here. For our fuselage, we're going to need 3 pieces. We're going to need our 2 doublers right here, and then we're going to need our main fuselage piece right here. So go ahead and get those pieces ready, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to either use our razor blade or our prop, and we're going to go ahead and cut out our release and peel the paper back so we have our channels. The areas that we're going to do, Noah, are you on the top down on the main screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. We're just going to go ahead and guide through here.
While you're doing that,
Yeah,
would the Easy Glider, could you go slope soaring with that?
you could. That would be a fantastic use for the Easy Glider. Obviously, you want to make it RC. But what you could do is you could do a simple, like a 200 milliamp, or I'm sorry, 350 milliamp 2-cell to power it, and then run it through one of our 70 amp BECs. It's a real tiny BEC that will save you from having to have an electronic speed control to power the receiver, because you don't need to power a motor. And then so run your little like 350 milliamp to a 70 amp BEC from Flite Test back to your receiver and your servos. It'll make a really nice light setup that you can throw off and slope off a hill very easily. That actually sounds like fun. I want to do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to finish these off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel the paper back, and then Noah, you can let them see what that looks like. And then what I'd like you folks to do is just basically make your fuselage look exactly like mine. So I'm just going to do this real time, and then I'll let this stay here until everyone can kind of see how it goes. The easiest way to make these reliefs is to simply fold it over 180 degrees and then just roll the paper out. If it doesn't come out clean, don't worry about that. Just go ahead and take a razor blade or a barbecue skewer and scrape out the residual there.
What would be the best plane to practice 4-channel flying?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I really like if you want to practice 4-channel flying, if you want a plane that looks like a plane and you can do takeoffs and landings, again, the Simple Scout or the Simple Cub. I'll probably lean towards the Simple Scout on this, although the Cub is more popular because the Simple Scout does really good with something called flaperons. So say you have a mixing and you later want to go to flaperons where you can droop both ailerons down. The Simple Scout almost turns into a walker. It just slows down so well for you. So I would probably say the Simple Scout or Simple Cub would be a great aileron trainer. If you want something that's smaller, the Tiny Trainer is by far our most popular trainer that we sell. And that one, the 4-channel wing is pretty cool. It's very aerobatic, very sleek, very crisp.
Do you have any tips on flying the Simple Cub? He can't stop crashing.
Okay, so most of the time people have problems with the Simple Cub. It's a couple different things. The first thing is oftentimes when they balance it, they get it very level, but every airplane's a little bit differently. So if I can encourage you, if you're using like a 1000 milliamp to 1300, get that all the way up in the front underneath that motor where the front of the battery is flush with it. If it tips down like this, no worries, that's okay. It'll still fly just fine for you. You won't be able to have so much weight on the nose where it won't fly well for you. But typically what people have is tail weight issues where the Cub is just very, very squirrely. So make sure that number one is done. The other thing is control throws. A lot of times people have too much control throw on their Simple Cub, and it makes the plane very hard to manage until you become an established pilot. The third thing is push rod deflection. We have something what we call push to positive. So the push rod actually has to push the elevator to deflect up. If you've guided your wires there and your wires are slapping around inside your fuselage, go ahead and take a scrap piece of foam, cut a channel out, and glue the sides of the push rod up against the side of the fuselage to make sure that you don't have that slop. Because what you may notice here is that sometimes your hinges are a little stiff and it doesn't give you the deflection you need, or it's delayed because it's just kind of moving very slowly from that input, and that will also cause it. Generally, when people have a problem with the Simple Cub, if they come out to Edgewater and I'm teaching them how to fly, those are the first things that we teach them or check out. I've never had one not be one of those three, and typically by the end of the day they're flying.
One more real quick question
Yeah.
before you get going. Do you happen to know of any simulators that might be great for practicing your multi-rotor or quad flying?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a really good reason for that. Yes. How about multi-rotor and quad flying? How about our main sponsor, and that's DCL. DCL and Flite Test partnered very recently, and the reason for that is because we shared a common vision. DCL wanted to get people into the hobby, but the way they did that was by starting with a video game. They made a simulator that could also be a video game for people to be able to connect, race against each other online, and be able to fly. So basically, if you're looking to become a really good multi-rotor pilot, you don't have to spend $400 or $500 to be able to go out and to crash and fly and fix and repeat. That is going to come. You are going to have to spend that investment, but you can immediately go ahead and get that game, and you can race against other people. Our good friend Maddie and also my youngest son Mike, they've been on DCL like crazy, and we're looking to actually host a DCL race course or a virtual race probably next week. So check out on our social media to get in on that. And along with that, DCL has also partnered with Flite Test in Edgewater, where they're putting a world-class race course in our backyard, actually our driving range, so people can actually come out. We'll be hosting races there, and they can even take their talents to the next level. And their end goal is for people to learn how to fly through the game, to get into the hobby for real and then become professional pilots. And anytime that you've heard me talk, I want people to turn their passion into their profession. DCL believes that too, and they've done a really good way. So yeah, thank you DCL for sponsoring this video. That was a really good question and well timed too. Thank you for that. We'll be talking more about that in the future as well. All right, do we have all these channels all good to go? You know what's funny? I'm waiting for people to tell me, yeah, we're good. I'm like,
I'm
no one's
so
talking
far
to me.
behind, I can't do it. But I do have a question for the
Yeah.
viewers. Noah and I were just sitting here chatting, and we think maybe the next video might be a question and answer video instead of a build. That way we can get a lot more rapid fire questions going. And
Yeah, let me know.
We're not interrupting you building. I don't
Yeah,
know what they think
well,
about that, but it's an option.
Let us know if you guys would like to have like a Q&A time where we're just talking, or maybe we're building but it's not a guided build. This is really a great opportunity to be able to connect with you guys and to be what you guys would like to see, so, or do what you guys would like to see. So if you want to build, that's great. If you want to talk about things, that's great. If you want, you know, tech questions answered to the best of our ability, that's also great too. So, or if you want to do all the above and just have it be a little bit longer, that's fine. If you guys are at this stage right now, what we have is we have our main channels relieved. We have our little tab over here cut out, and we have our two doublers. At this point, we're going to go ahead and glue our doublers in, and those are going to go right over our etch lines, just like you see here. You don't have to put a tremendous amount of glue in here.
Quick question here.
Sure.
What side does the firewall go on for the mini power pod?
What's that? Okay, so the mini power pod is an A-fold, and what you're going to want to do is when you make your mini power pod, look at the etch mark on the A, or look at the plans and where the A points to. The direction that the A points to should point to the side of the power pod that looks like, if you look straight down on it as it's built, it should be giving you right thrust. And sometimes right thrust, a little bit of down thrust. That's the really important thing. You don't want to have it be on the straight side, and you certainly don't want it flipped so it's pointing to the left. So make sure it's pointing to the right, and that little canted side, it'll be where the A points to. Great question. Let's go ahead and do the other doubler here real quick.
Will a 845 prop work with the Explorer?
Yes. It won't be as much power, but it'll definitely fly it really nicely. Be a very efficient setup too. If you're doing a trainer, that'll be nice.
When is the Easy Power Pack coming out?
Easy Power Pack is probably less than 2 weeks away. We have the Power Packs ready. We have the DIY design all done, and the build videos, Maddie's editing those right now. So look for maybe about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and they'll be out. And also check out our STEM store, ftstem.com. If you guys, these were originally designed around FTSTEM. We're going to have a really good program coupled with that where people can have a really good experience, not only building them, but also learning along the way too. So check that out. It'll be both on our main store and our STEM store. Okay, so for the fuselage, we're going to do what we call a B-fold here. And I don't know if you can see this yet. I'll hold it up to the camera there. But the B-fold is where the side cheeks are beside the bottom plate. Anytime you have a or B fold, it's always talking about its orientation to the bottom or top plate of the foam. And the reason we do this is to get different benefits or different shapes from the foam. To do a proper B fold, first we're going to do a practice fold. We're going to go ahead and we're going to rotate it, leaving the bottom plate flat against the table. We're going to rotate this up 90 degrees. Make sure that you can get a full 90-degree deflection before moving on. If there's any kind of foam down in this channel and it's keeping that from happening, go ahead and remove that foam. Once you're happy with that 90-degree bend, we're only going to put glue from this first crease here to the second crease here. So start here and here. Let's go ahead and do that now. I like to start and stop about 1/4 inch from the crease, because as the glue spreads out, it's going to move out not only through the crack but also on both sides as well too. So starting and stopping your glue about 1/4 inch is going to help keep everything much neater. So right now we're holding this about 90 degrees. If you want, you can take your little tiny wing gauge and hold it up against there just to get the proper angle. Typically when people are building fuselages, the one thing they do is they either don't use the table as their friend, which causes the crease not to be even, or they pinch it too tight. So you can use a scrap piece of foam like from our gauge here and just hold it up against there, or if you have a triangle or a square next to you, you can use that too. All right, that's one side. Let's go ahead and practice on the other side. That fits nice. Time for a new glue stick.
Time for me to read faster. No.
How many people do we have?
We have just under 700.
Oh my goodness. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And girls.
A lot of folks just want to say good job and thanks for doing this.
Well, thanks for being part of the family. During the quarantine, it's kind of sad that we can't get out. You know, this is typically the time when Edgewater opens back up, and we're teaching people on Thursday and Friday nights. Frankly, Flite Test wouldn't be anywhere without the mission behind it. That's to connect people through Flite. So the fact that you guys are taking time out of your lives to join us just truly means a lot to not only myself, but the whole Flite Test family and my personal family here. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Alrighty. So we now have our channel done here, and our next step is that we're going to go ahead and do our top plate. And we're going to use the table as our friend here. We're just simply going to kind of open this up, and we're going to push down on that bottom plate and hold that against the table. This is going to be the motion that we're going to want to do. And once you feel good and you see it nice and flat against the table on both sides, you can go ahead and pop this open, and then we'll put some glue down on both sides. Now we can't do one side at a time here, or one side at a time, so make sure you have plenty of hot glue like we have in the hot glue gun here. You don't want to run out in the middle of this step. Thanks for getting me the hot glue stick, Noah.
Can you put a Power Pack B in a Power Pack C plane?
On some, yes. On others, it's just going to be too weak. Good example of a Power Pack B or Power Pack C plane would be, let me think, the Bloody Baron, the Bloody Wonder, the Versa Wing. You can even do the Scout and the Cub B or C. The C is going to be way overpowered for both of them. The Spitfire, the Duster. Once you get into the Master Series, you really need to stay with your C pack. If you're flying some planes and you put a B instead of a C in there, what you can do with our radials is you can put a 4-cell on it instead of a 3-cell, and that'll give you plenty of power and it'll be the exact same experience. The downside is the C motor is physically heavier. So if you put the B motor on it, you may have a more difficult time getting your center of gravity be where you want it. And so that's the only thing that kind of makes me hesitant. Our new radial lines, the motor, since they can do 3-cell or 4-cell, takes care of the power issue. It's mostly establishing your center of gravity and making sure the plane flies well. There used to be a problem that just wasn't enough power in the past too, but typically if he says what plane it is, I can tell him off the top of my head, yes or no. But if it's a physically bigger airplane than a let's say 45-inch wingspan, unless it's like a glider, I'd probably say stick with the C.
The Explorer B and C?
Oh, definitely. Explorer B and C, they're made for that. So you're going to have a really good experience with the B. It's going to fly. If you put like a 2250 to 3000 milliamp battery on there, you're going to get 15 to 25 minutes of flight time on it, and it's going to fly so slow and gentle. Yeah, I love the Explorer on a B pack. All right, so our top piece is done here. We're now going to go ahead and flip this over, and you're going to see that we can kind of lift this up like a trap door here. That's exactly what we want here. We've already know that this will go down easily on the table, but just confirm one more time that both sides are nice and flush on the table and that everything is square. Once you're happy with that, let's go ahead and put a bead of glue down on both sides and then press it into place.
Is the Simple Cub good in the wind?
Yes.
I don't know if I asked that one yet or not. But
The Simple Cub is really good in the wind. So any plane is going to get blown around in the wind, but the Simple Cub handles it very well.
if you're a beginner and want to build a warbird, what would you suggest?
That's a great question. If you're a beginner and want to build a warbird, the most popular trainer in our warbirds is the Spitfire. So if you're looking for like a swappable size, so a C Power Pack size, the Spitfire is fantastic. It has really big undercambered wingtips. Now this is different than John Overstreet's Master Series Spitfire, which is a really good gentle flyer, but that's not a good trainer. I would definitely say if you want a warbird that's a trainer, the Spitfire is good. And then my second favorite would probably be between the P40 and the Mustang. Mustang just flies like it's on rails, has a decent stall characteristic, but it is a little bit faster than the Spitfire. But the FT swappable Mustang, fantastic. Alrighty. So we've used the table as our friend. This is pressed down here. It's nice and neat. Our next step, just like we did on the back side, we're going to open this up. And right in the center here, you'll have a thin little rectangle right in the middle go ahead and remove that foam.
There's a question here. FT
Yeah.
products, will they be returning to Europe after Grofner's bankruptcy?
Yeah, matter of fact, our good friends, I'm going to say this name wrong, Lindinger, and I'm so sorry if I got the name messed up. We had a container leave just this week going to Lindinger. So Lindinger is going to be distributing our products in the UK, I believe Europe. But look for announcements on that. There's going to be a whole bunch of social media posts educating people, letting them know, and they're going to be stepping in to do what Grapner was so gracious to do for us, and that was distribute. So the answer is definitely yes. Along with that, our building supplies, our maker foam, is also going over there with them as well too. And I think, yeah, we'll keep you posted, but I believe that's the main distributor right now. Okay, so what we're going to do here, now that we have this open, we're going to go ahead and lightly just kind of crease this up here, and we're going to do a quick test fit. What we want to see done is we want to see that this naturally kind of take the curve on these bottom two pieces here. Don't worry about the rest of it right now. Just go ahead and worry about these two pieces. Once you have it curved and matching, go ahead and pop it open, and we'll put a bead of glue on both sides.
While you're gluing this, you can think about the next question here. He wants to know if you have a favorite flight test video.
Oh my goodness, I like them all.
I knew you might want to think about that one.
I'll think about it. I'm just going to scrape this extra glue here, and one thing, especially if you're working with kids, don't let them burn their hands. Just go ahead and take it down to the table, and we'll rock it back and forth between both sides, just like this. Oh boy, favorite flight test video. They're all my favorites. So when I say the words blessing a lot, I mean it. I get to wake up every day. We get to do crazy designs with amazing people and then see them take flight. And the next week we do another crazy design and see it take flight. So to say which one is my favorite, at the end of the week, that one's my favorite, and then we're moving on. So this last week I got to build a mini scout with my son and kind of go down memory lane. And it was just really special to kind of take a pause and think, oh my gosh, flight test didn't start yesterday. It started almost 10 years ago. And how much has changed, but also how much has stayed the same based on the vision that we started it on. So it was really impactful in that aspect. So yeah, I can't say which one's my favorite. I do love seeing crazy things that shouldn't fly. That was just an absolute blast. I think my youngest son just fell down the steps. Are you okay? Yeah, he did. He's okay though. All right, so we got our bottom piece on here. We're going to do the same process on the next side, but before we go ahead and fold this over, one thing I want to make clear is this portion here, we do not want to glue down on top of the fuselage. This is where we're going to open up as our hatch. So what we want to do is we kind of want to open this up, and we also want to place a little bit of glue right here at the tip. And I'm just going to use a scrap piece of foam here, and I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to count to 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold it over the rest of the way. What this is going to do, this is going to give us a little bit of reinforcement to, my son's doing his best to be quiet right now because he's hungry. He's eating constantly. And all I hear in the background is a rapper right now, and I'm sure you guys do too. Just own it, Noah. Eat that granola bar, man. That was awesome. Don't worry, we're not a TV show. Kids gotta eat, right?
Right. Hey,
Yeah.
is there an RC plane that has over 15-minute flight time?
Oh yeah, lots of planes have over 15-minute flight times. It's really about battery capacity and wing loading that you put in there. So even our Cub and our Simple Scout, if you put a 1500 milliamp and just cruise around, you can easily get over 15 minutes. As far as the longest flight times, the Sea Duck with a really big, like a 4000 milliamp 3-cell in there, that'll cruise around a long time. The Explorer with a B power pack on a 3000 milliamp 3-cell, that'll cruise around a long time. So yeah, it's not uncommon for planes to get over 15 minutes flight time. If you have a high performance aerobatic or a pattern ship or a fast flyer, I wouldn't count on a long flight time. If it's a trainer or a glider or something with a big wingspan, very easily. I think the longest I flew was a Kraken for like 45 minutes. So yeah.
Speaking of trainers, would a Pete and Pole or the Corsair, would either of those be a good trainer?
We taught Eric Farewell how to fly on a Pete and Pole, on the little tiny Mighty Mini Pete and Pole. The Corsair, there's one plane that I would say would not be a good trainer, and that's the Corsair. And it's mainly because it's pretty touchy and it's hard to get the balance right on the Mini Corsair. So definitely would avoid that as your first plane. I tell people, unless you're an advanced pilot, to really avoid that plane, period. Not because inherently it's a terrible design, it's just it's very difficult to build something that size. I'd much rather, if you like the Corsair, learn how to fly, and once you're up to the 4-channel ready, build John Overstreet's Master Series Corsair. It is a dream to fly, a dream to launch. It's just a fantastic, stable airplane, far more stable than the Mighty Mini Corsair. All right, let's go ahead and get this nose piece on here. Hope I'm not keeping you guys too long. We're going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue right down on that paper, and be careful not to burn yourself. And then we're going to wrap this around between the foam and the paper. And I'm also going to go ahead and do a little bit of reinforcement on the doubler there. I'm going to just take my thing and I'm going to fold it over, and notice that I'm keeping this piece here folded so it can't accidentally get glued in. You can also take a scrap piece of foam and wipe off any excess glue. Once you have this where you want it, I'm just going to hold this against the table and it's going to glue down nice and solid. So again, we're just going to hold this against the table, use it as your friend, and let it dry.
Will there ever be giant plans or kits?
Yes, on both. We're trying to figure out how to do the plans properly, because one thing that we realize is free plans are great, but you still got to go to Kinko's or someplace and pay to have them printed. And a lot of people, if they were going to do a giant airplane, they don't want to spend lots of money or time taping 500 sheets of paper together. So we're trying to resolve that and come up with a solution. Also with the kits, the answer is yes. We're going to probably look at a couple of iconic kits. One that's iconic, maybe like one of the Master Series, and then another one that's just a really rewarding, nostalgic build. And we have a plane called the Simple Stick coming out here, and I think my agenda is to make the Simple Stick probably one of the first kitted Monster Series, because if anyone knows about the Ultra Stick, the Ugly Stick, there's such a great legacy around those airplanes. A Monster Stick would be really, really cool. Along with that, I would be looking to you guys to tell me, what do you want to see for a Monster Series, maybe a Master Series. So I'm kind of leaning towards between the Jug and the P-51 Mustang, which is going to be our next Master Series release. So that's that one's already on pre-order, and I believe they're going to the store as we speak, or at least this week. Something we're going to do here real quick is I'm going to reinforce this hinge, because we're going to be moving that ballast back and forth to get that center of gravity perfect. So an easy way to keep this hinge from delaminating is simply kind of squeeze some hot glue right in that crease there and then let it dry. Make sure you remove all the extra hot glue, because if you don't, it's not going to close for you. Do you have another question, Lev?
I was just gonna say, Michael's asking me from upstairs if I want any food, and no, Michael, I'm good, thank you. He's commented many times now.
Did he put that in the comments?
He did.
Wow, it's resourceful.
Right?
I think he remembers last time I kept you guys for, I think it was like 3.5 hours, but also none of us ate either, so we were all just kind of famished by that point. All right, let's go ahead and give ourselves a quick test fit here. And something you can do is you can put a little bit of glue on this crease if you want to, but what you should see is that this has a nice friction fit and closes just like that.
What do you think about the Mini Mavic? He's thinking about purchasing one.
Oh, the Mini Mavic's fantastic. As a matter of fact, this is my son's right here. So the Mini Mavic, the sub 249 gram Mini Mavic is absolutely amazing. It does pretty much everything I want it to do, and it just fits in a bag, and yeah, go for it. It's great value.
We've also had a couple more people donating during this video too.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. That means truly a lot. Incredibly kind of you. Appreciate it. Sorry about the water.
Is there going to be an ME-262 coming out?
Yes. Yeah, matter of fact, it's already been flown. If you look at some Instagram posts and some Warbird posts that we've done and John Overstreet's done, you'll definitely see the ME-262 come out. That's going to be a BDF release, which is Ben's ducted fans, but it's also going to be capable to be flown off of 2 C-packs. To be honest, as it sits right now, the 2 BDF sounds really cool, but it doesn't give quite the power. When you put the 2 C-packs on there with a 4-cell, it's incredible. You don't even see the props. It's similar to the A-10 Warthog, but it doesn't have the props nearly as visible. They're on the back side where the ducts would be, and when the props are spinning, you don't see them. All right, our fuselage is now done. So we have our fuselage done, a couple little hot glue strings right here, and now we're ready for our tail assembly. Something really cool about the tail assembly and why we have this as a STEM product is because this is made so kids can take off the tail and design their own tail and put it on. There's basically 3 simple slots, and I'm going to go ahead and pop those out and show those to you right now. 3 simple slots that people can use. They can design their tail. As long as they put those slots in, it'll pop right in there.
Do you have any idea when the kit box will be coming out?
The kit box will be early to mid-summer. So with everything with the shutdown in China and then now with the slowdown here in the States because of COVID, everything's been pushed back just a little bit, but they will be coming very soon. And as a matter of fact, look for some really cool video content with Trent. When we go to launch this, we're going to be going all out. Trent's been such an amazing person to buy into this vision and let us do this. We want to make sure this is a release that everyone remembers. So.
Quick one real quick.
Yeah.
Mini Scout. Can you use a Power Pack B, or is that too large?
The Mini Scout. Yeah, unfortunately, a Power Pack B is going to be too big. Yeah, matter of fact, a Power Pack F is actually too big for a Mini Scout. You really want to stick with a 2-cell, 800 milliamp battery and a Power Pack. And then you can go to a 3-cell and have crazy performance. But if you put a F Power Pack on it, it's just going to be a little heavy and it's going to be really, really fast. Yeah, really good question. One thing we're going to do here to prep this, because this is not RC, we don't need to cut any control surfaces in, but we did actually put the lines for that. What we want to see is we want to actually see the crease for the elevator to be facing down, and then we have an etch mark if you're building along with the kit for the rudder. Typically, we don't need to worry too much about the rudder, but if you want to do some tricks later on, or you need to do some adjustments, maybe from a crooked wing, you can actually use that crease to bend the rudder one way or the other. Now, if you're going to make this RC, all you simply do is cut this and do a bevel cut. We're going to save videos for that for when we come out with the Wonder Glider, because we have some really cool new features or a version 2 that we want to do that's going to make this even better. One reason why we're also calling it the Wonder Glider, not the Easy Glider, when I designed this, I actually had the vision to have a 2-motor differential stabilized system. We tried for over a year and we just couldn't find the right solution, the right motors, and we worked with amazing people that put a lot of heart and soul. Tanner Ewing is one of them. Tanner bought into that vision and he worked with us for close to a year. It was just very difficult to get the price point to where we needed it to be able to come out and also have everything from the transmitter to the battery affordable. So finally got that using the C17 electronics, but truthfully, it's just not big enough for a plane this size. So what we're going to do is we're removing this from the Easy series. We have the Wonder Glider that will be able to be powered off of a different power pack, and then the Easy series will be basically really great backyard flyers or indoor flyers. To prep our elevator and our rudder, all we simply need to do with our seam on the bottom is slide it in like that. You don't even need to glue it if you don't want to, but in this case I do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a very light bead of glue on both sides.
Can you fly the Edge 5? I think he means 540.
Okay,
with
yeah.
a 4S.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 4S on the Edge 540 is perfect. So I think you do a 4S 1300 milliamp battery for that. It's really important when you glue this down to make sure it's perpendicular. Again, you can use the little wing brace and hold it up against there to make sure it's perpendicular and let that dry.
We have a member here watching from the hospital too with COVID.
Oh my gosh, brother. Well, we're praying for you. I'm so happy that you're able to tune in, and our heart goes out to you and also your family. I know it's really difficult right now because family can't come and see you, but know that you're loved from us, from our Lord, and we wish you a very fast, speedy recovery. Yeah, absolutely. That means a lot that you're tuning in, and hopefully I get to meet you. All right, this should be nice and dry now. Let's go ahead and pop this in. That's powerful. We need to get that gentleman a build table and help him to...
Unfortunately, I can't pronounce the name. I know what it said. I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness. All right, to install this here, it's very, very simple. All you need to do is push it through the lower slot, and the 2 slide slots on the fuselage are going to line up and press fit in, just like that. Now, if you built it and used the table as your friend, you should have a nice perpendicular surface from the tail to the fuselage here. If not, you can go ahead and kind of crush that down, or you can adjust it to make it nice and level. 2 choices here. We can lock this in with a barbecue skewer, and you're going to notice here that there's a little tiny hole right on the side of the fuselage. Is that showing on the build table? Am I getting that right? Perfect. Little tiny hole right here that we can pass through and lock that in. Or if you're not going to be designing a different tail, you can simply run a bead of glue on both sides. So you can poke it through on both sides, pass it through. In this case, I'm going to lock it in.
They're asking if we have a Canadian distributor. Is Great Hobbies
Great
still-
Hobbies, yeah. Gary and Jim, and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the other gentleman from Great Hobbies. Yeah, Great Hobbies. If you're in Canada, please check out their stores. They're doing it right as a hobby shop, and they have such a heart for people. So check them out. They have an online store, and they also have brick and mortars. I believe they have 5 of them across Canada. And tell Gary I said hi. So one thing I'm really enjoying, guys, is getting to do this more and more often. Unfortunately, with the whole quarantine thing, you know, we had to get creative, but I'm really happy that this came out from it. So if you guys want to see more of this, let us know the topics you want to see. And also, I want to, again, do a big shout out to our main sponsor for this video. It's DCL. If you guys are looking to get into the hobby and you're looking to learn how to fly multi-rotors, DCL is a really good way to start. It's not only a simulator, but it's also a video game, and we've been playing it like crazy. We're going to have a DCL professional race course at Edgewater, and also check our social media posts, because next week, Maddie, I believe my son Michael, and even myself, we're all going to be jumping on and doing racing. I guarantee you're going to beat me every single time. But Maddie and Michael have just been growing so much as pilots there. It's really incredible how you can race, you can fly, you can become a competent pilot, and then you can jump in the hobby, and you don't have to worry about the expense or the crashes to really, you know, stifle that energy. And then from that point, our goal and DCL's goal is to see you become professional pilots where you can fly on teams and actually make a living off of this. So we want you to make your passion your profession. So thank you, DCL, for sponsoring this video.
What would you suggest for a beginner transmitter?
A beginner transmitter. Oh, there's a lot of really good beginner transmitters. The Spectrum DX6E is a fantastic radio. It's, I believe, about $169. There's also oh my golly, it's the FR Sky. It's $89. It's the FR Sky 9 Lite, 6 Lite. Oh my golly, Maddie, if you're on, I'm drawing a blank here. If you are in the comments here, tell us what the awesome little blue transmitter is that I love so much. Let the people know that, because I'm drawing a blank on that one. But I really like that one too. The FR Skies aren't as easy to program, but they are very open source, and there's a lot of really good YouTubes and great community members that can guide you through it. If you're looking for user friendliness, the Spectrum DX6E is really good. Okay, I want to do something else, but we're pretty much there. Our next step here, let's go ahead and put our wing hold down. So we'll mount our wing and start talking center of gravity here. Easiest way to pass this through is we're going to go ahead and we're going to pass the barbecue skewer through on both sides first before passing all the way through. And that just makes it a lot easier to be able to find the other hole on the other side. So give this about a 1/2 inch gap on both sides. And then I like to take either scissors or a razor blade and then just roll it back and forth. There's one. And we'll do it on this one too. How are we doing with pace? I'm trying to slow down. One of our biggest things that we got feedback on was don't go so fast. So hope I'm not going too slow now for you.
I think you must be good. No one's said either way.
Oh, good.
So, yep.
Good. Well, this next build, if you guys would like to see the next one, I want that to be something that you guys suggest, and I'd love to do one that you'd like to see. Maybe if
Someone was
if these
saying
ones are
earlier
coming
the
out.
Scout
The Scout
was suggested earlier. Yeah,
Ask him if it's the Mini Scout or the Simple Scout.
I think you just did.
Okay. I keep forgetting. I guess we could do that, can't we?
You can. Do you know if John Overstreet has an FW 190 coming
He
out?
does. Yes. It's almost funny with John. He is such an amazingly talented person, but his heart for flight tests is incredible. And he designs planes weekly. He is an amazing mind. His background comes from metalwork. So he was able to take a long time ago and make these beautiful artistic models out of shaping metal. And when foam came into his life and his son got him into the hobby, he was instantly able to adapt his ability to do that. So he can make planes so quickly. John's not going to be the only person designing around Master Series, but I can promise you the majority are going to come from him. And he does have an FW 190. So I'm really excited. I'm sure if you guys have seen it in social media, he also has a mosquito that is just gorgeous.
That was the next question.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a mosquito coming. So the mosquito is such a dream to fly. Typically, when you see a mosquito, it always has tail weight issues where it's too tail heavy because stubby little nose. He was able to design it super light in the backside, and it just flies scale, looks scale, and the profile in the air is just amazing. So in the kit, or if you're scratch building, you're going to need a couple rubber bands here. And our next step is to go ahead and put our wing on here. Now you're going to notice on our wing that there's two little hash marks here. That's going to help us center up our wing, because if this wing is shifted one side or the other, it's going to naturally want to turn on you. So make sure whenever we mount this that those two hash marks are even on both sides. You're going to want them just on one side of the fuselage and the other. Same thing with our center of gravity. Our center of gravity is going to be indicated by these two little holes here. A really cool tip to kind of get your center of gravity figured out is put a little drop of glue on each of those holes and then let it dry so it kind of bubbles up like a little pebble. And what that's going to help you to do is kind of get your fingers under there to instantly feel where that is, and then you can do your balance real easy. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down, and I'm just going to line that up, and then we're just going to go ahead and cross the rubber bands over each other. You're probably seeing 4 little dots right here. If you wanted to make this radio controlled, all you need to do is take 2 4.5 gram servos, cut this out, glue them in, and then run your push rods back to the back end. I know our current STEM program kind of covers a lot of that, and our Wonder Glider is going to do even more to make that process easier. I can't promise you that they're going to actually be in that location. I have some different desires to do with that, but it is going to be very easy to make at RC and have a good experience.
Jesse Overstreet's watching. He said howdy.
Jesse, oh my gosh. So I got to tell you guys a story and gush over Jesse and John for a second. Jesse actually is responsible for bringing John into flight test. So John and Jesse wanted to have a father-son trip. Jesse recommended going to Flight Fest. And I think the original goal, and Jesse could probably correct me in the comments, but they wanted to fly quads in the FPV line. They got there, and if you guys have ever been to Flight Fest, you know that you got to wait a long time to get an FPV channel because there's so many people flying. So they started looking around and going to the build tents, and they immediately fell in love with the idea of building in the build tents and then going out. And Jesse, I forget what the name of your first one was. It was the Combat Plane or the Combat Master or something. I'm sure you could probably put it in the comments. But was that?
Combat Master.
Was it the Combat Master? Yeah. So from that point on, they just fell in love with building together and flying. And then his dad and Jesse went back. His dad doesn't fly. John doesn't fly the planes. John designs them and builds them, and then Jesse flies them, and then John takes pictures of them, and Jesse gives feedback on how to make them better, and then we get the opportunity to look at the build experience and the flying experience. What a beautiful family. Gretchen, Jesse, and John are just an amazing example of how flight can bring a family together, but also how they can pay it forward. So I don't want to gush too much, but Jesse, you're amazing, and thank you for bringing this chapter into flight test. All right, well, we have this all done here. A couple things, as you can see before, we made sure we centered this up, and I just put these 2 little drops of glue right here just so I can feel where the center of gravity is. And if we just leave this as it is, it's not going to fly because there's no nose weight in there. It doesn't balance. The way we're going to fix this, if you guys are scratch building at home, you can use a little bit of clay or a couple nuts. What we have for our kits is sticky back lead wheel weights. So we call them lead wheel weights. They're lead free. They're metal. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out, and this is going to stick to one side or the other of the side. What I recommend here is to not peel the whole piece off until you've moved it to where you want it, because every plane's going to be just a little bit different, and you want to be able to play with that balance. Also, some people want to be able to do a loop, and they can make it go AFCG with up, and they can make it like a boomerang. Other people want to go for distance, so they make it a lot more nose weight and then trim up a little bit more with elevator. So it's really up to you on how you want to make your nose weight. But what I would say is just cut about 1/4 of that tape off like this. And where I would recommend starting, are we on the top down, kiddo?
Yeah.
Awesome. Where I'd recommend starting is right about here. And just push that in there. Now, unfortunately, it's windy, and I believe it's probably dark right now. Yeah, it's definitely dark outside. So I'm not going to be able to do too much with talking about, trim theory and things like that. But what we can do is I can throw it at my kid across the room, and I can tell you if it flew good or not. So I can't resist. So, by the way, if any of you guys have been to the shop, most likely you probably saw us tossing these back and forth or saw one in the background, because we could spend most of the day doing this. But at this point, this is where the experience comes in with learning to trim, learning to adjust your center of gravity. A couple little tidbits and a couple little tips here is it's not only in center of gravity, it's also your pitch control. Typically what you're going to find is you're going to find that your plane's going to balance out. Let's go ahead and check that out right now. So I'm just a little bit tail heavy. We'll move that up a little bit more.
Do you prefer Spectrum or FR Sky?
So I fly Spectrum right now, but I'm quickly falling in love with FR Sky. I love the protocol of FR Sky, and I love the capabilities. The user friendliness is what I don't like about FR Sky, and we're going to hopefully help fix that in the future. But the cool thing is anytime I have a question about FR Sky, I can either call Jesse or I can go on the forums, and the answer's already been figured out there. FR Sky is so incredibly capable, and their protocol is rock solid. So if you don't mind a learning curve, FR Sky rocks. But Spectrum is a really great go-to, and because they've been in the plane fixed-wing world for a long time, they have key features kind of on the surface that everyone's going to benefit from. And so typically if I get someone in the hobby and they want just a very easy experience, I'll steer them towards Spectrum at first, but that may very well change in the very near future as FR Sky is doing a better and better job with making it user-friendly. All right, let's see if my balance is better. There we go. So what we want is we just want just a little bit nose down. And I'm just going to go ahead and just give just barely a deflection up here. Maybe a millimeter or two. I'm just going to slightly just crease this to just let it kind of go up. Just like that. At this point, we're ready to go out and take it how to... At this point, we're ready to take it out and fly it. A couple key things is you're not going to throw this like a football. You're not going to Hail Mary it. You're going to throw it like a dart. In other words, you're going to see what's in front of you, and you're going to thrust it forward, keeping the nose nice and level, looking at the target that you want to throw it at. From that point on, the sky's the limit, and you guys get to go out now and have some fun with that. Is there any other questions?
Well, a gentleman here really wants to know what's your War of Thunder name?
War Thunder name? Michael, no, what's your War Thunder name?
Huh?
What's your War Thunder name?
Ginger?
Ginger?
Ginger.
Or Ginger? Ginger or Ginger?
Yeah.
I don't have a War Thunder name. My kid's account is where I jump on, and it's always on. So unfortunately, I don't have that. Now, one really cool thing we did recommend with our War Thunder sponsor in the past is to have the flight test community through social media share their posts so they can all fly as a big group, because I promise you'll shoot me out of the sky really quickly. I'm not that good at it.
Dave Jester would like to say watch out for the pool.
Watch out for the pool. Okay, yeah, he saw last week's episode. Hey, no, I got to see if this glides here. I'm just chomping at the bit here. Hold on one second. Go over there. Ready?
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good.
See if I can make it.
So there's two lights right here. You can't see this, but... All right. Well, we got ours trimmed up good enough, which is good for us. Yeah, we'll probably be putting this in the pool if we go out and fly it later on tonight. Couple tips for you guys. If you're going to fly for the first time, make sure you do it on a nice calm day. You really want to feel what this plane is going to be able to do. Also, if you're in a big open living room or something like that, you can easily glide this all the way across your living room. And do us a big favor too. Last time when we did this build video, we were truly touched with how many families and friends were building these and sharing their experiences. Please consider doing that and post your experiences. It inspires not only us, but it inspires others too. So again, thank you for that. Also, while we're talking here, right now is tomorrow's Easter, and I just want to take the opportunity to wish you all a very happy Easter. For my brothers and sisters in Christ, Christ is risen, and we're so thankful for that. And we truly hope you during the Easter holiday that you guys get to connect. We're in a really crazy, scary time, but the best of people is also coming out, and that's a really encouraging thing. And what we're seeing from our community is they're a shining example of that. So thank you so much for taking the time with us today here to connect. Thank you for taking times with your families and friends to connect. And we really wish you a very happy and safe Easter. And I think we're done. We can do some more questions if you guys want, though.
P38 landing gear. Will the video be out soon?
Is it still not out?
I got a question,
goodness.
so I'm just.
This is probably the poor same gentleman that's been asking for that. The video is edited and it's done. Maddie, if you're watching the video, if you could tell me what needs to be done to get that out. I think it's just a thumbnail. Because Noah, you edited that video, right? Yeah, the video is edited. It's done. So yeah, we'll look into that. I think it's just a thumbnail and we just got to get it posted.
Lots of happy Easters. Would you mind saying happy birthday to Anna? Not the Anna you know, a different Anna.
Happy birthday. How old is Anna? Or is she allowed to say?
Her boyfriend, I believe, asked you
Happy
to
birthday,
shout
Anna.
out, so
I'm not going to ask an age, but happy birthday.
Is there a P25 or is there a B25 or P38 coming out?
The P38 is already out, and the B25 is also, I've flown some prototypes, yeah.
Let's see. What was your first airplane? I know we've gotten that one before, but not on this video. So.
First airplane is, oh, it's under this picture. Look at that. There's my first airplane right there. It's am I getting in focus there?
A little farther back.
Right there. So check out the date. That's 1988, 1989, right there. So that's a Carl Goldberg Gentle 80. And I promptly took about 4 months to build it with my dad. And I destroyed it in 15 seconds. And he would help me time and time and time again repair that. And the things I did to that airplane, I was a terrible pilot. It took me about 2 years plus to even be able to competently fly. And I really wasn't comfortable flying until I was almost 12 years old. I think in this picture, I was probably 8 years old or so. And the plane that really impacted me a lot was this one. It's the Telemaster right there. So look at that picture time, right? So my wife was so cool. She's actually found these and she's kept these around for me. So these would have been lost a long time ago if it wasn't for her. But those are two of the most memorable planes. I think it was last year or the year before. Last year, I want to say, at Flite Fest, a young gentleman gave me a Gentle 80, and I still have that kit in my garage. I'm sorry, not the kit, but the actual airplane in my garage waiting for radio. So I think we'll have to put some gear in that and take it flying. Great question.
Another question. The Simple Cub kit, he wants to know, is there a way to keep his propeller from spinning off? He can't seem to keep the propeller from spinning off.
Okay, I don't know what motor he's flying, but if you're flying a conventional motor where it spins counterclockwise and it's spinning off, I wonder if possibly you have a clockwise prop on and it's been reversed and that's why it's spinning off. You want the prop to go counterclockwise, and if that's the case and it's truly a counterclockwise motor, which means righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, the prop nut shouldn't slip off for you. If you have like a quad motor or a 2213 motor that has the opposite thread, so it's a reverse thread, then you'll need to go to another direction prop. So you'll want to go to a clockwise prop and then it should stay on.
Alright, you asked for questions, so.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, we got done with this pretty darn quick, so.
Yeah, 92 minutes. Let's see. We already answered that one. Sorry here.
That's okay. How many people did we end up with?
We had, I think the highest we had was like 717.
My goodness.
Yep. Best power pack for the Simple Scout.
Power Pack B. Do the radial Power Pack B, and you can fly it on a 3-cell. And then when you feel real crazy, just simply pop a 4-cell 1300 or a 4-cell 1000 milliamp, and it's a little rocket ship.
Any cheap options for laser cutters?
Oh my golly. There's tons of eBay laser cutters out there, and everyone's a little bit different with a little bit of benefits and stuff. So I can't really speak to which one would be best, but yeah, there's lots of really good CO2 laser cutters out there.
Are there any more Mighty Minis coming out in the future?
Yes. A matter of fact, our good friend Senka, I don't know if Senka's Santa Karen, I hope I pronounced your name right, I call him Senka for short. We're going to be working with him to take a lot of his beautiful Mighty Mini designs that are kind of like John Overstreet's Master Series, but they're shrunken down and they fly incredible. So we're working with him to bring those to reality. They'll be flying off of our F-Pack radial. And then I got a couple planes up my sleeve that I'd like to see really kind of throwing some love towards the old timers. Mini old timers basically, if you can picture that. So yes.
What's the difference between a BDF and an EDF?
So when you hear us say BDF, that stands for Ben's Ducted Fin. A dear friend named Ben Harbour, he designed a housing that would basically utilize a mini quad motor to give a EDF, basically the EDF benefits, but you don't have the top end speed, but you have this low end punch and efficiency that an EDF doesn't have. So when we say BDF, that's referring to his design. He was gracious enough to work with us. We're actually having that not 3D printed, but actually molded out of dimensionally stable, really durable plastic. So that way we can design around it. And John Overstreet, and Ben for that matter, are designing different airplanes. And I believe John has probably about 4 or 5 designs ready for the BDFs as we speak. Once we get that combination and that module in there, we'll be able to do it. The BDFs run off of, I believe it's a 4-inch prop. And so it's roughly a 90 millimeter fan size. So tremendous punch, but at the same time you could take an F-18 and you could fly it super slow or at a really good clip. You're just not going to get 100-mile-an-hour performance out of it.
Do you need AMA membership to fly at Flite Fest?
We're working on that. Right now we have it where you do need AMA membership, but we actually hold off if you're only getting the AMA membership for Flite Fest. Hold off on getting that membership. You can actually get that right before you come. We're working on some other solutions because we've gotten a lot of feedback that a lot of people only buy AMA insurance because they want to go to one event or they want to go to Edgewater. We're trying to find a solution to give them the ability not to have to do that, because we don't want them to have to, first buy the tickets for Flite Fest, then go out there and have the travel costs, then have the camping fees, and then pay, $75 for one experience. We really want to make sure this is as economical as possible, and I think we can do so. So if you're looking for only Flite Fest, right now the answer is yes, but hold off because we may be able to fix that.
I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but he wants to know if you recommend it's Li-ion batteries. Do they have more range?
Lithium-ion
Oh,
batteries.
okay.
Yeah. What's he asking about lithium-ion?
Would you recommend them? Do they have more range?
So lithium ions generally have more capacity but less C rating, so you can't put a demanding amp draw on them, but you can get a lot of capacity. And our good friends at Ready Made RC, they have the Strix line. One of my favorite plank designs that they sell is the Nano Goblin, and the Nano Goblin has a 3200 milliamp 2-cell equivalent, and it looks about the size of a 3-cell 1300. I can fly for 45 minutes off that one battery. So if you have a very efficient design like a motor glider, or you have a very low kV motor that draws very low amps, like the plank from Ready Made, that'd be a really good use for them. I'm not seeing them in any speed applications or anything other than efficiency or light airframes.
Can you please do a tutorial on Z-bend pliers, and what do you use as reference for the initial bend?
That's a great question. Do we have a push rod around here?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, I'll do one right now. I just need a pair of pliers too.
Gotta be behind it.
I don't see any. Oh, there's a pair of pliers. These will work.
Push ones.
I'm embarrassed to say we cleaned up.
That's
That never happens. All right, it may have to wait till next time. Do me a favor, look up on our flight test videos, go to our main channel, type in, oh, there we go. Let's say Z-bend tutorial, we actually show this, but, all right, so here's our push rod here. I hope you can see this okay. Noah, is that clear enough in the camera there?
Try doing it from the top down.
Like this? Okay, cool. So the first thing we're going to want to do with the Z-bend pliers is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and make our first bend, 90 degrees. Just like that. Okay, so there's our first bend right there. Typically what people want to do is with real narrow pliers, they want to bend it back up. What you actually want to do is you want to turn it sideways, just like you see here, and grab it about maybe 1/8 of an inch in, and then go ahead and bend it 90 degrees up again. So now what we call this is a modified Z-bend. So you could actually rotate this in and then have it pop in where this is 90 degrees. To make a classic Z-bend, all you're going to do is you're going to just grab that and you're going to very slowly rotate it over and you'll have a perfect Z-bend. Hope that helped.
okay. What is the plane behind Josh?
This one?
I don't know. They just said, what is the plane
Okay,
behind you?
so this one here is our next model coming out. That's actually molded, ground up from Flight Test. This is our Widgeon. So if you guys are familiar with the Twin Star, that was one plane that was really, really impactful for me. Oh, this camera here. Thank you, Noah. So if you guys are familiar with the Twin Star, that was a plane I absolutely loved, and it was truly, functional. We wanted a plane that would be multi-surface. In other words, you go off the water, the snow. If you had high grass, you could pull the landing gear off and it could take off of its belly. But also something that had some beauty and some history to it. So we chose the Widgeon here, and this is basically going to be our versatile plane. This will be able to have FPV on it. It'll be able to carry a wide assortment of batteries. It'll be able to take off of the water. Also, there's no hardware to put this together. There's lots of magnetic snaps that are really strong. But listen, it's just amazing. So the whole idea of this plane was not to have the electronics sealed in, but to be able to have it serviceable. So the motors it comes with, if you want to hop up your motors or change out your motors, you could easily do so. Also, the wing tabs click and pull out, so you have tons of real estate and big open battery compartment. So I'm starting to do a review right now, but long story short, it's our Widgeon, and it's going to be coming out very soon. Under a month from now, we should have these here, and it is incredible what they can do. When you pair this with an Aura 5 and put it into launch assist, it is stable because we have differential stabilization. I'm getting tired. Differential stabilization.
But he meant the gray one.
Oh,
I'm
well,
guessing that one.
that's really awkward.
But that's okay. You got to.
I hope there's at least one person
that
that
one's
wanted.
harder to see in the video.
Okay.
Than
Well, I'm
that.
happy he corrected me. This is my son Michael's Newport that he we got this like 5 years ago again.
Oh gosh, longer than that.
So if you check out the recent video with me kind of going down memory lane with the Mini Scout, basically I'll be talking about Michael when he was, oh my goodness, it would have been, yeah, how old was Michael? Probably 7?
I was gonna say 6 or 7.
6 or 7. He wasn't tall enough. The little cones that you stood beside to fly at the indoor events, he wasn't tall enough to like have his feet touch if he sat on top of them. And he won one of these Newports at a flying event, and he flew there from the age of 7 probably till about the age of 11. And then at the JR Indoor, it got crashed. So that was a real impactful story in the past about that. But long story short, he got another one for Christmas, and it's part of a real dear memory he had with my father, who's no longer with us. So he built this, and he's never flown it. I think it's just a special memory for him. But it's the E-Flite Newport. I don't think they make it anymore, unfortunately. I'm a rambler right now.
You're good.
Probably maybe take a couple more, and then we'll let you guys go.
Let's see. He's wondering why the lithium-ion batteries are not good for RC planes.
They're not capable of handling as high of an amp draw. So typically on an RC airplane, if you have a high amp draw, I don't know how many Cs they're capable of handling. Let's just say they're capable of handling up to 2 or 3 Cs. Where typical RC LiPo batteries can handle 20, 30, 40 Cs, no problem. I'm probably not saying that correctly. It's probably 10 Cs, but I think it probably paints the picture that I'm talking about. You need to have a very low amp draw motor or a very efficient setup to get the most benefit out of it. That being said, when you get the right balance, they're incredible. Again, one of my favorite planes is the Nano Goblin. 45-minute flight times, unlimited vertical. It's just fantastic.
Let's see. A lot of them are questions you answered in the beginning, but
Okay.
the folks must not have been there, so I'm trying to kind of get you
Sure.
some new ones here. Let's see.
Does
Are
anyone-
you making a Master Series F-22?
I don't think we've done a Master Series F-22. That would be a John Overstreet question.
You still have quite a few people.
Wow.
Let's see. Where do you plug your 15 amp BEC receiver plug into?
That's a great question. The FT15 amp BEC, BEC stands for Battery Eliminator Circuit. So typically on most ESCs, which is electronic speed control, you have an internal power source that would go to your receiver. But if you have servos that require too much amp draw, what will happen is it'll cause your receiver to brown out because the electronic speed control can't deliver enough power. The BEC basically gives you a nice, solid, clean amount of voltage, and the 15 amp goes all the way up to 15 and actually goes higher in a burst situation. So if you're flying a big monster, you have it. that's the explanation of what a BEC is. Ours actually has 2 leads that come out of that, and the reason that we have 2 leads is for a really good reason. Typically when you get to a big model, you may want a level of redundancy. The easy way to get that is by having 2 receivers. And so on a big airplane, what you may have is 2 receivers, and you'd have the right aileron and the left elevator. And then on the other receiver, you would have the left elevator and right aileron. And what that gives you the ability is if, God forbid, you lose one receiver, you have a failure, you still have this level of redundancy. So the 15 amp BEC can power up to both of those. The other thing that we use it for a lot of times is because it delivers, a clean, I think that one's 5.5 volts. It can power a lot of FPV gear and things like that, or accessories that require that. And you can use that as an accessory port there. If you guys haven't noticed, our radial series that we have has an extra little, well, version 1 had a little white connector. Version 2 of our radial ESCs has a JST that pops out. That's actually a battery voltage accessory port. So what you can do now is, if say you're flying an Edge 540 and you have some really torquey servos that maybe are beyond the ability of that ESC, you can plug in the BEC right to that and you'll get straight battery voltage. The other really cool thing about that is, say you're not doing that, you can plug it into that accessory port, like LED lights, FPV gear, things like that. Just know if you put a 2 cell on it, you're going to get 2 cells out. If you put a 4 cell on it, you're going to get 4 cells out. 3 cell, the same thing. So that's why you have the 2 connectors. What you'll want to do is you'll want to hook the one connector, one of those 2 connectors, up to the battery slot or the bind slot to power your receiver, and it'll work great. Forgive me if I kind of go deep and kind of share things. I want to hopefully educate people on what that is, as well as answer the question.
Let's see. A lot of people thanking you. They're excited
Okay.
for the next one.
Well, awesome. Do us a big favor. Leave in the comments below, even after we're gone. Let us know what you'd like to see for the next one. And then also, check it out. If you guys are looking to get into the hobby, if you're looking to fly multi-rotors, check out the DCL the game. We're going to have links down below that. They're the ones that sponsored this. And also, we're going to be at Edgewater hosting some world-class events in the near future where you guys can come and you can fly at their course. So again, thank you DCL for that sponsorship. But also look for Maddie and a whole bunch of the crew to be racing on that in the week to come. Guys, again, I think we're going to call it here. Happy Easter to you all. Thank you for taking the time out of your lives to build with each other and also to spend it with us, and for all your great questions. All right, we'll see you later.